Welcome to the Lawless Astrology channel. My name is Dabney and I'm an evolutionary astrologer. Today we're going to be looking at the Cancer new moon coming up on June 25th. We're also going to be talking about the fact that Jupiter is in Cancer right there. I may preview a little bit about Uranus and Gemini, but I'm going to be doing a lot about Uranus going into Gemini. So all in all, this video is going to be probably a little bit more personal than usual. I am going to be talking about the astrological themes, but within the context of some kind of personal stories. I have been away. So for those of you that have been checking in with me and asking where I am, I am sorry that I did not let everyone know ahead of time that I would be out of town. I was in Europe traveling. And so even the video I posted a week ago was pre-recorded with my teacher, Steven. So anyway, this video is, like I said, a little bit more about how I'm thinking of things, given all of the circumstances. My cat's going to join us. I hope that's okay. This one's Bailey. So yeah, if that's content you're interested in, please do stick around. All right. So lots to say. I've been, so much swirling around, and I imagine for you as well. And part of that swirling around is nostalgia. Cancer is a very nostalgic sign. So as we are now in Cancer season, so the sun is moving into Cancer, Jupiter has moved into Cancer. As we talked about in a recent video, Jupiter going into Cancer, has a lot of blessings and has a lot of potential for healing. And yet it also has, its downside. And we saw some of that with the LA, the situation in LA, I'll just put it that way, with an overreaction of nationalism, fear around, we have to, keep ourselves protected from the other. That can be very Jupiter in Cancer, but then Jupiter in Cancer is also an outpouring of compassion and caring for others that need our help. And so we saw that as well. So I was traveling during kind of a tumultuous time here in the US. It's been tumultuous for, I guess, 9 years now, 10 years now. But that said, it's been particularly acute, I think, for most of us the past few weeks. Just kind of one thing after the next. You don't know what crisis is hitting. And it feels like things are so much worse than they used to be. And that's true in a lot of ways. But as I was abroad, I was able to sort of reflect on things. And this video is a little bit of a love letter to the United States for a country that may have never existed. That was a story that was told to me. And, what we're seeing now is the results of actions taken for decades. So as much as we want to blame one person or people that support one person, I am a la Jupiter in Cancer or Cancerian energy, having more of a compassionate understanding for what's happening. I do not have a compassionate understanding for those in power that know better. I do not have a compassionate understanding for those who have not been pushed to the brink. But I do think a lot of people in this country have been pushed to the brink. And breaking things felt like the only viable solution to some people. So let's talk about Cancer. And let's talk about this country. So the United States is a Cancer nation. I am very much an American girl. I have 4 planets in the sign of Cancer in the 7th house, including my sun. So does the United States. Sibley tart. I have Sagittarius rising like the United States. I have Chiron in Aries in the 4th house like the United States. I have a lot of things in common with this country. I spent a semester abroad in the UK at Oxford when I was in college, and I couldn't wait to come home. And I had so much pride. I have always been a very patriotic person, despite the fact that I am progressive. You know, those two things didn't have to be separate at one point. You know, the American flag has been co-opted to mean something that it didn't mean at one point when we, you know, didn't feel like American flags went along with, you know, AK-47s, right? Like, there was a time when the extremes had not been radicalized. And I missed that time. So that's Cancer, is nostalgia. While I was abroad, so one of the reasons we went abroad, one was for a trip, school trip, for my son, which is a whole other story. But another reason is because we're looking at getting visas to potentially live in another country. And I don't do that lightly. So as we were there, I was thinking, I can't believe that this is what we're considering. I can't believe we're considering leaving ever, you know? But I do think that things have changed. And what's changed is I see things much more realistically. I see the complete complexities of what's happening in a way that I never did before. And I think probably a lot of you can relate to that statement. You know, I did believe that we were this shining beacon on the hill. I believed in the melting pot. I believed in the words on the Statue of Liberty. But we have a dark history in this country as well. And what we have been experiencing is a reckoning with a lot of the behaviors that have taken place that have hurt others. While I was abroad, I learned a little bit of history about the country of Portugal, which is one we are looking at, and how they were lived under a dictatorship, and how that dictatorship came to be, and how that dictatorship came to fall. And really, times of authoritarian lead, the authoritarian is often let in the door because of chaos. People are desperate. Now, in this case, it wasn't, you know, it happened a little differently in this case. In our case in the United States, that has happened other places. But in other places, the door is left open for someone to come in and take a strong role to get things back under control because things have gotten so out of control. And I think there's truth to that. I think for me, the wealth inequality is the thing that maybe people don't realize, but that's really the thing. Like, everything has catered to the wealthy, and it has continued to rise and widen to the point where normal people, life is just hard. I got home and one of our chickens had been really sick. And so first thing, you know, the day after I get home, I have to take her to the emergency hospital. And it actually went well. And I'm so used to everything being a fight or an uphill battle or a challenge or like just difficult that I literally like almost started crying. Like, I had tears in my eyes that like something was easy. And that's the thing that I think so many of us are grieving, is like life was easier for a lot of us. It was simpler. We didn't have call trees that we had to sit through. We didn't have to talk to robots. We could go drive somewhere and get an answer to a question we had by talking to someone without taking a number. There weren't just so many obstacles to getting healthcare. There wasn't so much bad healthcare. there wasn't, here's the thing is like, yes, like now we have all these cheap, Chinese goods, but at the same time, like, it hasn't made people happier. Like, materialism is not what's made people happier. What makes people happier is human connection and love and a sense of peace. And so here I went to this animal hospital, and this woman was like, so helpful, and I didn't have to wait long. Like, I just went in, and then another woman offered me coffee. Like, it was just so foreign to me to actually have like a positive experience, and like that made me realize how much baggage I'm carrying on my back, like how many chips are on my shoulder about just getting through the day, because the dishwasher breaks, and you have to wait 2 hours on the phone to talk to, someone in India for your parents' healthcare. Like, these are things that are like, just like daily occurrences, right? And then like you have to call and like you try to get the cat into the vet, and there's a waiting list till July and the cat's sick. Like, I mean, it's like, what is happening, right? So here, I'm going to get to the astrology in a real soon. But all of this, it just makes people crazy. It's crazy making. And the less money you have, the more crazy making you have to deal with, because you're working so hard and you're just trying to get by. And most people just want to get by. And it's now become that much harder, not only to afford groceries and to afford gas, but just to get by. And here people tell you that it's all someone's fault and that they're going to fix it. And so people believe that. People want to believe that. People need to think that it's going to get better. And so there was a similar situation in several of these countries where things had just gotten so corrupt and things had gotten so broken that the idea of having one person who promises you they will fix it is very appealing. So, we are all walking around with a lot of baggage for a life that is no longer ours. And so, I was listening to the song Landslide. Do you remember this song Landslide by Fleetwood Mac? And then the Dixie Chicks did like a beautiful cover of it as well. And I was listening to that song. I was actually listening to the Dixie Chicks version, and it was making me think of when I was younger. And the Dixie, like I told you, this was going to be very personal video. So, but I promise you, it's hopefully we're connecting on some level about what the astrology is of this time, which is this is the astrology. I suppose I should get to the astrology, but I'm all over the place. The astrology of this time is about the fact that we can heal. We can see things clearly, we can lead with love, and we can put down some of the emotional baggage. That's your net, okay? But it's also incredibly painful. There's also tears that are going to be in your eyes. There is also the landslide and the reckoning with the fact that things aren't always what we had dreamed they would be, or what we thought they were be. So I was listening to that song, and it was like, I've been afraid to change because I've built my life around you. I think a lot of us that have believed in our country, we are afraid to change. It's scary. I don't want things to change. I liked it the way it was. I liked things to be simpler. I liked feeling like we were the good guys. But I don't know that we always have been the good guys. I think there's a lot of times where we haven't. And so the complexities of real life is this kind of cold water in the face of the fact that like we all need to grow up. And so our country is growing up. And we're seeing things a little clearer. We have, there was another story. So I encourage you to listen to that song, either by the Dixie Chicks or by Fleetwood Mac, who did the original, because it is about being afraid of what is coming, and what you thought was real wasn't, and you're afraid of changes, but you know that they're happening and you can't stop them. And there's an acceptance to that. Like, children get older, time, I get bolder, children get older. Like, the lyrics are really powerful. And I never would have thought I would leave this country, but we're really very close to, we're filling out paperwork. So, it's a landslide. It's like it all comes at one time, where you suddenly see things differently. And all this Cancer energy. So as we know, in a new moon is an opportunity to plant seeds. And this is about seeds of love. This is about seeds about family, acceptance, and releasing fears and emotional baggage. So Jupiter in Cancer is going to support that. And Jupiter in Cancer conjunct the Sun the day before is going to give that a boost. So on the 25th, though, and we're going to be under that for the next couple of weeks, there is this opportunity to kind of see things in a different way, to reflect on them, but to reflect with heart. Right, Bales? You think you can do that? Yeah. We want to reflect with heart. That's Cancer. We want to reflect with forgiveness, compassion, understanding. But we also want to look at history. Cancer is the past. So the more that you can reflect on your own past, the more that you can reflect on the past of our country, you can see the patterns. You can see where the fears are and where the emotional baggage needs to be released. And so this is a time for praying for the help of Jupiter. Jupiter's going to be in Cancer this whole year. So you can actually recite some prayers to invoke some luck, to invoke some courage and boldness in the face of the fact that we're all getting older. Our mortality is there. Dictatorships, authoritarian regimes, they come and they go. And it's all kind of part of this history. When we landed, I was, kind of joking, but not. My friend Suzanne Sanders, you should check out her YouTube channel. It's Go Higher Frequency. So good. I'll put a link to it. Anyway, I texted with her. I was like, well, I'm not going to have internet, but I've got text. So if World War III starts, text me and I'll buy the internet. And just as we landed, I get a text from her that says we bombed Iran. So that's how we, we're welcomed back to the country. And it was jarring, but not unexpected, right? If you know astrology, we're going to be sort of in for it over the next few years. It's not necessarily going to get easier. But in that, the amount of maturity and wisdom and resilience and the gifts that we are going to receive are going to be numerous across the board. So also on the plane, I watched this movie about the Brazilian military dictatorship in the 70s. And it was really heartbreaking, again, crying, but it was called I'm Still Here. Excellent movie. But it has subtitles, because it's Brazilian. It gave me a lot of perspective because it's not too different than people being snatched off the street right now with masked men and, taking them to foreign gulags. I never thought in my lifetime I would ever see anything like this. But that's it. We're not special. That's a hard thing to come to terms with. But we're not. We're just like every other human on this earth. And there are cycles, and we are in a cycle right now where we are having to learn a lot of lessons. as a culture, as a country. But as we do that, we learn what we're made of. We learn who we really are, what we really value, and Cancer is here to support us. So this is a time where I think actually tremendous healing is available. During this new moon, that new moon is going to be, and Jupiter are going to be squaring Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. And so we've talked about Saturn, Neptune, and Aries being about, the glamorization of war, the kind of austerity of having to pull within to the basics of what you need. It was interesting. I also read a story. I hope I'm not rambling. I hope these stories kind of coalesce and you can relate to them. But I read this story in Town and Country, which I don't subscribe to, but it was in a feed, and about how the Rose Garden, which has been around since 1913, which was Woodrow Wilson's wife, created the Rose Garden, and obviously Jackie Kennedy, made it so beautiful. And there's kind of this long tradition of the wives of presidents, first ladies, really putting a lot of love and effort into the beauty of the Rose Garden. And the Rose Garden, or a Rose Garden, whether it's at the White House or in your house, is very Jupiter in Cancer. Roses are so big and bold and beautiful and fragrant. And Cancer is warm and loving, and there's just kind of something, those two together is so Jupiter and Cancer to me. I have all this Cancer energy, and I always have fresh flowers in my house. And oftentimes they're from our garden, especially in the summer. So I go around and I cut, we've planted specifically flowers that will do well in this area so we can have fresh cut flowers. And so it's being paved over. And I think he's going to put a flagpole or something. But anyway, it's literally being paved over. And that is so Jupiter and Cancer squaring Saturn and Aries. And Saturn and Aries won that round. Because Saturn and Aries is austerity. It's self-isolation, what I want. This is what I want. That's how I want it. I don't want this. I don't like it. I want it to be plain. I want it to be paved. I want to let you know that Jupiter and Cancer and the flowers can still exist. Yeah. Hi. You've got something to say? Yeah, okay. Can you be quiet for a couple more minutes? I'm almost done. All right, she's telling me to wrap up. But I want you to know that Saturn and Aries is not going to always beat Jupiter and Cancer. And when they have this new moon, I want you to do some self-reflection. I want you to do something where you write it down or you reflect and you truly think about what it is that you love about your life. What did you love as a child? What did you love about your mother? What did you love about being a mother? What did you love about being a fur baby mama? Okay, so it doesn't have to be literal children. You could not have a mom, but you had a mother figure like a grandmother, an older sister. I want you to reflect on something in the feminine and in your past that you can be grateful for. I want you to listen to the song Landslide. I want you to cry for what could have been and what isn't. I want you to feel something powerful for all the people that have stood up to authoritarianism across the world, and know that authoritarians, it falls, comes and it goes. We're definitely in for it for some time in this country. And, say prayers for the people whose loved ones have been snatched off the streets already. Say prayers for people whose loved ones have been snatched off the streets in other countries. And for the the role that we have played sometimes in bringing authoritarianism to be in other countries. But also reflect on the times that we did do the right thing and we did help free other people and feed other people. So I know it's a little bit of a rambling, but that's the energy right now. The energy is of healing. It's of healing. So I want you to heal. I want you to acknowledge if you're feeling fear, but also recognize that it's not doing any good. It's not going to do anyone any good. Cancer is a cardinal sign. Cancer takes action. So if you're frightened, do something. It doesn't have to be, bold and like, do not do anything like clearly like against the law or violent, but, do something to protect yourself. We're looking into moving to another country, if necessary. Like, do what's going to give you peace. Okay? Connect with your family, reach out to loved ones who have children in the military. There's all sorts of things that you can do to kind of help. Action helps you not be stuck in fear. I think action, it's a cardinal sign. It wants to take action. So do something active. And even if that is, kind of reflecting on your family lineage and doing a family tree and like kind of getting perspective, like why did my immigrant grandparents come to this country and what happened to lead them to this? So there's all different kinds of things that are of action, but that's what I want you to do is on this new moon in Cancer, I want you to take some kind of action that can help you put down your fear and your emotional baggage and just recognize that the landslide brings you down. Like, it's just part of life. But it's also beautiful, and we're all in it together. So I'm sorry I've been away, and thank you for indulging this very personal video. And thank you for those who reached out to ask where I was. I'm sorry that I wasn't more forthcoming, but I've got a lot of good videos coming up on Uranus moving into Gemini, and those will be a little less self-indulgent. So, as always, there is a reason and a season for it all, and the universe is conspiring to help us. So, until next time, stargazers, please take care of yourselves and don't let this new moon go to waste.